there aren't enough women in politics, so they tell us, and it's true. So, us Welsh Liberal Democrat women have to punch above our weight, and there's a few in here tonight from all parts of the county. But our special guest really does punch above her weight, whether it be on the floor of the Assembly, challenging Carwyn Jones, the only one that challenges Carwyn Jones. If you use her name on the doorstep, it's bound to win you a vote. She is a formidable campaigner, a formidable speaker, and a formidable challenger in the Assembly. Going back a couple of years ago, it was the morning when they were announcing the leadership battle for Plaid Cymru. And I was in the canteen of Penmorfa, and I went over to the Plaid Cymru group, and they were all in a little huddle discussing what could be the result. And I said, oh, good luck today now, poor bloke Heathy, you know, I'm sure you're rooting for your local girl. And in unison they said, no, we're not, we voted for Leanne Wood. Oh, trying to feign surprise, oh, well, why is that? Because we want somebody like Kirsty Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our leader, very much our leader, of the Welsh Liberal Democrats, Kirsty Williams.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Diolch yn fawr iawn, and diolch am y gwahoddiad. It's so lovely to be here today for lots and lots and lots of reasons. First of all, to say thank you to people like Elizabeth, although every time there's an election here in Aberaeron, I'm always a bit worried that we're going to be reported, or Elizabeth is going to be reported for electoral fraud. Because let's face it, the majorities are Mugabe-esque. I'm sure that there is somebody somewhere in the electoral fraud office thinking that Elizabeth is up to no good when she gets the votes, the percentage of the votes that she gets. But of course, Elizabeth isn't the only one that is doing tremendous work in communities, the length and breadth of Ceredigion on behalf of the Welsh Liberal Democrats. Mael and Roland and Caredig and Paul, all working really, really, really hard for us. Mark Cole, day in, day out, in the council chambers and in town and community councils, the length and breadth of the constituency. Because as good as Mark Williams thinks he is, and let's face it, he is pretty good, actually, Mark is only as good as the team that surrounds him. And one of the reasons why Mark is as good as he is at his job is because he is supported by a tremendous bunch of people. People who are elected to office in the county council and the town and community councils, but also a tremendous bunch of people, this bunch of people who keep the show on the road. And I'm grateful to all of you. So it's an opportunity not just to come here to brag Mark up a bit, but actually an opportunity to say thank you to all of you for what you do on behalf of the Liberal family. Now, I'm a bit dishevelled. Let's face it, I always look dishevelled after Elizabeth's been on the panel. Because we've been out and about today in Brecon and Radnorshire trying to save Llanwrtyd Wells surgery. We had news yesterday morning that they were going to close the surgery in Llanwrtyd Wells, an issue that you know all about here in Aberaeron. And we've been out and about today trying to get signatures on petitions, raise the profile, start a campaign to save that surgery. But yesterday I took a call from a very irate constituent who had rung up, not surprisingly, very upset about the news. And we explained what Roger and I had been doing, and that we had brokered a meeting between the Bilthwell surgery that run Llanwrtyd as a branch surgery and the local health board, and we'd convinced the local health board that the surgery had to be saved and they had to put some money on the table to keep it going. And this lady said, I demand to be at that meeting. And I said, well, it's not really a public meeting, we're just trying to get the right people in the right room, knock heads together so we can save the surgery. I demand, she said,
to be at that meeting. I said, well, I'm sure we can arrange a public meeting, but that meeting, it really needs to be between the local health board and the doctor's surgery. She said, I'm a representative of the people. I said, excuse me? I'm nominating myself as a representative of the community, and I am going to that meeting. And I said, well, it doesn't work like that. What do you mean? I said, well, you can't just nominate yourself to be a representative of the people. I wish you could, I said. I wish I could. And I could dispense with such things as elections. But you can't. She said, I'm a representative of the people. And maybe she is. She probably is. But when I think of representatives of the people, I think of people like Mark Williams. Now, this election is going to be fought in an atmosphere of anti-politics, something that I have never, ever known or seen in my lifetime. And I speak to people who say, you're all the same. You're just in it for yourselves. And do you know what? When I watch Prime Minister's Question Time, sometimes I think, do you know what? People who say that are probably right. But then I look at my colleagues in the Welsh Liberal Democrats and the 3 MPs that we have, and I know that's not the case. Mark Williams does what he does for Bronglais because that's his local hospital. If he or his family get sick, that's where they have to go. They've got private health insurance. Mark Williams campaigns for better schools for children because the schools in Ceredigion are his children's schools. And he wants those schools to be as good for his children as for everybody else's in this community. When Mark campaigns for jobs and for a fair deal for people who are in work, he does that because his family know what it's like to have to stretch the budget to the end of the month when you are working a job like a school teacher and working in management. They know what it's like. They don't do it because they think that's what people want, because they are those ordinary people. And they want the same for their constituents, his constituents, as he wants for his own family. And that is what this campaign is going to be all about. About an elected, a representative that will be a local champion. 5 years of being in a coalition government hasn't changed Mark Williams. He is still the local champion he ever was. I think he's got a seat with his name on it permanently in the whip's office, because he gets called in there so often, because he is a man that's not just prepared to read the email and do what the whip says, but actually to think about the consequences for his constituents and his conscience before he goes into the voting lobby. And if that means upsetting Alistair Carmichael or Don Foster, then he is prepared to do it. There is no whip in London that is going to tell Mark Williams how to vote. And he has done amazing things, not just here in this constituency in terms of education and keeping services at Bronglais. He's also used the opportunity of changing this country's law. And there aren't many MPs who can actually say that they have changed the law of the land in a way that Mark Williams has with his work on child protection. It is something that you can all be so immensely proud of, that Mark combines his ability to represent his constituents and campaign on local issues, whilst at the same time working on national and indeed international issues as well. This is going to be a fight like no other. I think over the last 5 years we've kind of thought, next month the polls will get better. No, maybe it'll be next month the polls will get better. Next month the polls are definitely going to get better. And I noticed on Twitter a journalist in London writing this week saying, why is it that the Liberal Democrats haven't gone completely bananas in the face of what's, let's face it, pretty dreadful national polls? And he said, well, the answer is, because what the Liberal Democrats know is in the seats where they have sitting MPs, they know that those national polls count for nothing. And that's why they keep on knocking on doors, they keep delivering leaflets, they keep making phone calls, because on the ground, in those constituents, those polls count for nothing.
Wel, Noedweision, Bonedigion, a Bonedigesau, diolch am eich cefnogaeth heno. Thank you once again for your support and your support this evening. We used to have adoption meetings in Ceredigion Liberal Association. We now have launches. I don't know what the difference is, but the outcome, of course, must be and needs to be the same. I'm going to start by just saying a few thank yous. Thank you firstly to Kirsty Williams, my leader, our leader, the leader of the Welsh Liberal Democrats. As Elizabeth said, and we're sitting there watching First Minister's questions, no one should be in any doubt at all who the leader of the opposition is to the Labour Party in the National Assembly. Kirsty Williams knocks spots off everybody. She speaks with authority and passion and leadership, in particular on our precious National Health Service. And unlike some, she differentiates between the National Health Service of institutions and managers and politicians and the National Health Service of the workers on the ground, of the porters and the nurses and the doctors. Because every week now, in Prime Minister's questions in the House of Commons, I flinch every time David Cameron launches another grenade at our National Health Service in Wales. And as Kirsty said, of course, there are things that need to change. But the one thing I'm afraid Mr Cameron always understates is the sheer dedication and hard work of the staff and the way in which his comments demoralise those people on the ground. Now, where I sit in the House of Commons these days, you can't always choose the company you keep. You know, Tory leopards with Tory spots don't change. They're still the same. But thank you, Kirsty. Thank you especially for being here. I think you've been at every one of my adoption meetings or launches in the campaigns we've had. This will be the 5th campaign for Ceredigion, and I really, as a personal friend of our family, but most importantly of our leader, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank the team. You're right. You can't do this job without a team representing the great constituency of Ceredigion. I think of my past team in the office. I think of Mark Cole and Martin and Elizabeth, people that were there from the start, and now the new team. Mark and Martin and Elizabeth don't escape completely, far from it. But I thank Lisa and Michael and Matt and the redoubtable Bryony Davies over there, who's now going to stand up, because Bryony is leading our organisation from 32 North Parade. She does a sterling work. I want to thank the local party who have chosen me again to be the candidate. There is history and great pedigree in the Ceredigion Liberal Party and the Ceredigion Liberal Democrats. It's a group of volunteers who have for years and years dedicated themselves to the election and the re-election of Liberal MPs. And there are so many people in this room that I need to thank, but I would point out one man who's sitting quietly at the back, my brilliant election agent, Professor Michael Woods, who has been my agent in the last 3 elections, and it is no small part due to Michael Wood's work that we win the election. So thank you, Michael, for all you do. And I will also pay tribute from a platform to my wife and my family, because the role of an MP's spouse is a curious one. You're expected to dress up and come to innumerable events. But in addition to that role, to run our house, to run our family with 4 marvellous children, as well as pursue your own career. And Carol's been working with Helen and will testify to the great success of our family centre in Borth and the way that has grown in our community. And that's in no small tribute to Helen Williams, Carol and the team, and my family as well. Thank you very much. Don't know what Kirsty Williams.
Remember that next time you do something really bad.
They'll remind me. They're already bursting reminding me. I'm very grateful for our friends in the Memorial Hall. It is wholly appropriate and fitting that we're here in the heart of the Ceredigion constituency in Aberaeron. And this building has experienced a rejuvenation in the last few years. It's got a very good bar as well. I urge everybody to spend their money later. The committee will excuse me for a moment if I remind them of mixed memories for me in this building. I remember standing over there, where the bar is now, in 1992, being told by my dear, dear and much missed friend Geraint Howells, his wife, to duck down as the emotion overcame us, and a declaration was made then that Geraint Howells had lost the seat. I have mixed feelings about this place. Mercifully, thanks to the generosity of spirit and votes in Ceredigion in 2010, we could avenge that defeat once and for all with an 8,324 majority. Happy memories now in Aberaeron. But politics is an emotional business. We're captivated for the party for different reasons. And when you study the history of liberalism in this county, you will know that the caricature of liberalism, the caricature of the councillors and the activists and the MPs and the assembly candidates, is hard work on behalf of the community. The community comes first. Pobl and Gunther, people first. That was our message. That was the message of Geraint Howells. That was the message of Mark Williams in the past and will be in the future. And I want to also, Kirsty may chuckle, she might even bite her tongue when I say this. I want to thank my colleagues in government. There have been instances, well documented, when I've been there in the whip's office, explaining myself, explaining that I will respond to the wishes of my electorate over and above party and whips. But for the first time in 90 years, we as Liberals will have the opportunity to put before the electorate concrete Liberal achievements in government. And that is an amazing opportunity for a party which was denied government for so long. I think of what we've done in tax, I think of what we've done in terms of pensions, I think in terms of what we've done in devolution. I think of a proud record on the international scene. They are policies, they are areas of policy that I will proudly endorse what the party has achieved. We are unashamedly the internationalist party. We are unashamedly a party that will stand up for the rural areas as much as the urban areas. The party that has seen education as the great key to individual prosperity. The party that sees the state as an enabler, not an inhibitor. And now, as Geraint Howells would have said and told me on so many occasions, he told me, Mark Bach, elections, it's all about winning. That's the challenge. That's the task. No prizes for coming second or third or fourth. And Liberals in this county have been in all those positions in the last 30 years. It's all about winning. Now I am told there is a new philosophy. It's called the new politics. It's called the politics of accessible, approachable MPs that report to their constituents in newsletters and through the local newspapers. It's about politicians that sometimes ignore the whips for for their constituents' interests. It's about an MP that puts the interest of his constituents first, above the interests of any other interest group. Is that new? Is that new? That's what we've been doing in Ceredigion for the last 10 years, and I want to do it for another 10, if not another 20. My liberalism will always be the defence of public servants. Public servants in this constituency, in our great universities, our great NHS, defending our public servants in the county council. My liberalism is also about the individual. It's about the individualism and liberalism of the small business, of the family farm. All those are essential stakeholders in the Ceredigion that I know and love. That is my mission. That is my pledge in the weeks, I was going to say weeks and months, in the weeks ahead and the years thereafter. I think most of you know, as an adopted Cardi, how much I love this county and love the people within its boundaries. Geraint Howes was blessed with the birthplace of Ceredigion, as many of you have too. I was blessed with a great education here, with the opportunity to stay and live. It's the county I've chosen. No other county will do. I want to stay. I want to fight. And with your help, ladies and gentlemen, I want to win again. Diolch yn fawr.